Hi folks, welcome to Candidates Forum. I'm your host Dave Gallus, and we're here with Carol Cooper, who is running for School Board District Number 5. Carol, welcome.
Thank you.
I have to admit that Carol is a personal friend of mine. I've known her for quite some time. I know her heart. I know where she's going. She's trying to help our students become citizens of the world. So Carol's got a lot of background that I think lends itself to being a good school board member. And you have a successful business, an accounting business, I believe.
That is correct.
And
I work with primarily people who are in business, small businesses, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. Your qualifications, I would imagine that since you're an accountant, you know how to handle money, which is a very big issue when it comes to handling big amounts of money in the school board.
I am very conscious of resources, or the lack thereof.
Ah, I see. Well, I don't know what the business is. I guess City Council will appropriate, or no, it isn't City Council. It's
No. The money comes to school boards primarily, or at least historically. Most of the money for education comes through the state, but when our states when the compacts were signed for the for admittance to the United States of America, each state was granted 2 sections within each township to raise money for education.
Oh.
New Mexico and Arizona, in a different law, received 2 more sections. So in New Mexico, we have 4 sections per township that raises money just for education. Most of it, I believe, is distributed to permanent funds. That is, there's a fund for New Mexico State University and other higher education institutions, as well as the public schools, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Well, you're already educating me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. There, you have other qualifiers to say that you should run for school board. You handle people. Well, you have children, so that's a big start.
And I think that that's a really important credential. that you've gotten to be a parent, because you know the bond between parents and children. And we parents, we think we don't know a thing. When we start to be parents, we're scared to death.
Yeah.
And we look back on it, and here they are, they're raised.
Now, your children, how are they? How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, and
Okay.
there's 8 years between them. And my older son is a civil engineer in Gardnerville, Nevada.
Wow.
And my other son is a graphic designer who actually they paint airplanes for Boeing.
Oh, graphic designer for Boeing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good job.
And he has enjoyed it. He hasn't gotten to use his graphic design degree as much as he would have liked, but I think.
But he's more than a painter.
But yeah, as a matter of fact, now he's more involved with working with employees.
Okay, supervisory
recruiting
okay.
to be able to do that for Boeing.
Okay, so you handle people, you've handled little people, your children, now you've handled employees. Now you have employees at your accounting business?
Yes, and my husband and I were ranchers too.
Wow.
But I'm not doing any ranching now.
Okay.
But we've had employees for both businesses and over the years, and I think I do have a perspective about what makes it easier for a young person going from being a student to an employee.
Right.
What skills they need and how important their education is to them.
Oh gosh, what's more important than that? I mean, You're going to need to learn to read. You're going to need to learn to write. You're going to need to do math. You know, I see, sometimes I have to laugh. I go into a restaurant, a McDonald's, and I might get a bill for $7.82 or some odd change number. So I'll give them a $10 bill, and then I give them 82 cents, and they panic. They don't know what to do. Or, you know, it's just an odd number. If they can't punch it in on the computer, they can't think about how to make money or make change. It's like, that's amazing. And then if they don't know how to do it, then you hear them call the manager, and then the manager comes in and he doesn't know how to handle it. It's like, oh boy, this is scary. So do you see that? I mean, in employees that wanted to work for you? Or?
I certainly have seen it. And I've seen the other side of it. The other side of that coin is to have a student, a young person come out of school and be very proficient, and that person is works into the business just so easily and can get right on to work. And take care of your clients, help you take care of your clients. So
I assume the difference is education.
The difference is education and motivation to get in and get out of a job, you know, to get with it. But education, and we're seeing more and more students come out not prepared for with life skills.
So I've heard some pretty bad information about how New Mexico ranks in the United States. Where are we on the ranking scale of the 50 states?
50.
We're at the bottom?
We're at the bottom. We're at the very bottom.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
It's a drop from the last couple years. I believe it was about, we were at 48, but we're
going
number
backwards.
50. Right.
We were bad and got worse. I would say that then our school system needs to be changed in some way because it's not working. And I heard you mention, too, that it has to start early where you have a child that's engaged and wants to learn.
Right.
Where does that start?
That starts, I believe, really and truly with parents.
Sure.
And, you know, parents feel like I remember I was a working mother, and fortunately for me, well, there were two things that were very helpful to me. And one of them was that even though I was a divorced parent, their dad was very involved with them. That was a huge thing.
Sure.
And I've had lots of advantages. And I've had helpers with my children.
But you would say parental involvement is really a key in the early stages.
Yes, and the reason for that is that at a young age, a child, their total dependence is on a parent.
Sure.
Their identity becomes with a parent. So if a parent thinks something is really important, even though children will growl about having to do this or do that,
sure,
it's ingrained in them.
So the kids know.
They come to their adult lives with the values that their parents have. So it's really important for a child's education that the parent value it and demonstrate that value in various ways. Seeing to it that, asking children about what they learned at school and being excited about what it is they're learning, and helping them with their homework if they need help, or point them in the right direction. Always know what the homework is. Know what the teacher is expecting of the children. Paying attention to whether or not it's hard or easy, or are they excited about it? Are they bored with it? And be able to throw in some tidbits that make it really relevant to the life that this child and parents are living.
You know, I think of where we are. I came from Philadelphia, so was more urban. But here in this rural desert community, some people would say that, well, parents are behind the 8 ball because they maybe not even speak English. Do you find that the parents over time have had that same issue, and how did they handle it? Because I mean, I remember growing up after the Second World War that I was going to school with a bunch of Italian kids, a bunch of Irish kids, and they were all immigrants, and their parents could hardly speak English, but they still didn't seem to lack behind me as far as education. So
right, and I had an experience similar to that, in that I am from Roswell, and
that's where the aliens are.
Right.
Okay. Highly educated aliens, I'm sure. Okay,
I'm
sorry.
sure. But anyway, I lived in a farming community.
Okay.
And so we had migrant workers. They worked. Many people perhaps heard about the Bracero program. And
my uncle was involved in that.
And so a lot of those parents did not speak English, and the children, though, those parents were pushing those children to learn English. There was not any of this business of there weren't the resources. Again, and even I'm older than you are. This was right after World War II.
Right.
And so we were very fortunate to have teachers in our rural community.
Okay.
And but not teachers to speak English and teachers to speak Spanish.
Right.
But those parents wanted those children to speak English, and I do not remember that ever a child went to 2nd grade not speaking English.
Right. Okay.
You know.
And for the folks.
And most of those kids that I started school with at least finished 8th grade, and most of them high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for the folks that don't know, the Braceros program, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my uncle, he had a cotton farm in Hatch, and he would go to the border of Mexico, pick people up, and he'd be responsible for them while they're in country and they're working for him, and then he would take them back. So these people didn't speak any English whatsoever. And yet these parents knew the value of learning English, because that is what the language is in the United States and the world, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And that's really the economy.
And actually, you know, if you look at the New Mexico Constitution, I think that's where I read it, that English will be taught in the schools. But anyway, we didn't have exactly that same situation in our community.
Okay.
The people had come from Mexico. We had, but they stayed. They stayed in the same area.
But they knew the value
ultimately
of learning English.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will continue fixing the school system in Las Cruces and the area. Okay, folks, we'll be right back. Stay tuned with more to come with Carol Cooper, School Board District 5.
There you go.
So great. Do all these different gears in the plan.
Okay.
Nice.
Guys, not all.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hi folks, we're back at the Candidates Forum here with Carol Cooper, who's running for School Board District number 5. We've gotten a little background about Carol, and I'm sure we'll get some more. We've discussed a lot of issues about the education system and how it may not be working since we're number 50th out of 50 states. So there's a lot of things we need to deal with. So Carol, let's see. Okay, parental involvement, we said how important that is. What is it that you think are the most important skills that a child should have even when they come into school? How about we start there? What skills should a child have when they come into first grade or kindergarten?
I think that one of the most important is an understanding that other children have that we need to get along with the other children in the classroom, and so play skills really takes care of that. I mean, if children are allowed to play with other children, and parents are there to see when they're not sharing, or when a good one is trying out language that they maybe have heard. And
can get you in trouble.
And yeah, it's not appropriate in school.
Right. Okay.
And
so I guess there's a learning curve when the kids come into school, but you figure that the parents are going to teach the children discipline. You have to listen to the teacher, and these
respect for respect for authority, just respect for the person and the property of other people.
Fellow students.
Right.
Sure. Okay. So that's a start.
If children have had another great thing that can happen and really sets children up for school is if parents do read with their children, and they value books. And what the adventures are, that it's an adventure to open a book.
No.
That is a priceless gift to your children.
You know, it's funny you mention that because it takes me back to when Jason, my youngest, was before he went to school. His favorite book was Opus, and it's like I think he's a penguin, and I would read to Jason every night, and that was his favorite book. Well, it got to a point where Jason didn't know the letters, but he knew exactly what the words were, and he would read to me after a while, and he enjoyed it, and it helped him so much in school.
Yeah.
So so now the kids are ready with discipline, how to interact with other students.
Some exposure to to other places and things through books.
Oh, sure.
And we learn a lot there. And
I always had a hard time. I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't want to read anything. I think the only book I ever read was Old Man and the Sea. I read it completely through. Otherwise, I cheated on the Cliff Notes. But had I enjoyed reading, it's a whole new world. It's an adventure out there.
Absolutely.
So after a while...
You're a great reader now.
Well, I am now. I can't get enough. But, I mean, as a kid, I do remember reading Prince and the Pauper and Tom Sawyer. And these are adventures that you are it's a wonderful experience.
Wonderful experience. And,
so,
a joy.
So reading, okay. Now, so the kids might have a little bit of background in reading.
And good toys, I'm thinking of blocks and counting, and manipulating them, and an eye for shapes and so on.
Okay.
So those kinds of experiences before children get to school, then learning's a continuation. It's not. It isn't a big shock.
It's an adventure.
It's
something
adventure.
Probably they look forward to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I hear you.
And those opportunities, sometimes there are learning disabilities. If those things can be identified early, sometimes they can be handled. They have found, there are therapies for overcoming those things, and there's another word I'm looking for, and maybe it'll come to me, but when you can't do something, you find something that'll work just as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Compensation.
Substitute.
We call it compensation.
Okay.
That's with dyslexia, but there are other things that happen with children, and if parents are watching and working with their children early, they can help them overcome those things, or at least deal with them sooner rather than later.
So identifying the issues early on. My
sooner
brother,
is better.
he was in the 3rd grade before they realized that he needed glasses.
Yeah.
And he was having a hard time struggling in class, even when he got in the front of the class. But when they got him glasses, bang, the whole world changed for him.
Oh,
he was an A student after that.
There you go.
And it's like, so I guess identifying that is so important, and identifying good teachers as well. With the school board, would the school board have any say as to teachers that are hired?
Who teach your child?
Yes.
The school board doesn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Okay.
Things have changed. Gary went to school here from the time he was 4 until he was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
And
Well, I imagine the school board would have some say if there's an issue that needs to be addressed.
not the school board.
Oh.
I think pretty much student and teacher issues are handled at the school level. And,
okay.
And hopefully, they're professionals. They they know how to identify difficulties. But what we don't want to see is disruption in a classroom where you're teaching reading, for the first time. When you're introducing students to reading and mathematics in the formal education setting, you don't need to have disruptions. You need to have students who are ready to learn, wanting to learn, and that makes life way easier for teachers, and just flat out ensures that, I guess there are other things that enter into it too, but she's going to have success with these students.
If you have some disruptive student in a classroom, one disruptive student, that ruins it for the whole class. So you're setting back so many students when you don't handle an issue that needs to be addressed, and that child, maybe through an intervention, could become a student that does want to learn. So you identify the problem, whether it's a medical problem, an emotional problem. So early on identification and then corrective action.
Very helpful.
Sure.
And parents need to be a really big part of that. And be ready for school. And those children know this is important to you because you got them ready for school.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that math and reading are the most important skills, but besides what we talked about, any other ideas?
Well, math and reading and writing open up all kinds of things. It is critical. It is critical that students learn history, learn the history, the history of the world, learn the history of our country. But if they don't like to read, too bad, so sad.
Wow.
If they don't, they're going to be coming across words that are different from what we use in everyday parlance, and so if they don't like to read in the first place, they're really not going to want to tackle that challenge. And yet, knowing the mistakes that have been made in the past, it really helps you avoid them in the present and in the future. So math and reading and being able to write and think, put on paper what you think,
Wow.
and give you a chance to look at it and say, is that really what I think? You know, and be able to communicate it to somebody else.
Wow.
Those are skills that last a lifetime, and everything else builds on it. So elementary school and what we can learn there is so important.
No, I hear you. Well, we're getting down to the end of the show, but Carol, if people would like to help with your campaign or maybe call you and ask you questions, where can they reach you?
My cell phone is almost always on, and so you can call 575-644-1790 to ask questions or make your own observations. I would most appreciate those observations and comments.
Okay.
And you can also email me. Writing is maybe better. It's a lot easier to email than it is to text, but a text is welcome. But anyway, email me at clcooper at 1946 at gmail.com.
Okay. Okay. Well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, you know where to do it. There's a lot more issues, and we're going to be coming back on. Now, you're going to be on Facebook, I think. Where can they reach you on?
The Candidates Forum. You can watch me live on the Candidates Forum at the Las Cruces channel Facebook page, Sundays at 7:30 p.m.
Very good. Well, I'm going to stand by and watch it myself. So we have a lot more shows that we can do, and we want to get you back next week. So, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with Carol Cooper, School District number 5, next week, and look for her on the Facebook channel.
I am Carol Lynn Cooper, and I approve this message. Carol Cooper, Treasurer.